What's up, everyone?
What's up? It's
Glad
good
to have
see
you both
guys.
up. We've been live watching this footage, which we broke down earlier today. I hope you guys have checked it out. It's the first clip that Justin's team has dropped. And yeah, it honestly, as we've already previously showed, it does break down that Blake's not being fully honest. This clip right here, I mean, this quote right here about they're filming a slow dance and that he was basically harassing her, dragging his lips across her and telling her out of character, you smell good. It smells so good. None of this was in character or needed. It was just completely inappropriate and nothing to do with their roles. And this is all that she sort of alleges. It reads really badly, but as you watch the footage, there's about 9 minutes of footage here. It's just couldn't be further from the truth. They're both playing sort of the role. They're both, acting, in this scene, which was shot back in May of 2023. Here is what it was written in the script. Patrons around them drinking, watching sports, completely in their own world. Lily and Ryle slow dance in the bar. And yeah, that's what they're doing. As we watch this footage, which we've done, but Blake is noticeably very directing.
What is it as Rambunctious as it was?
She immediately... I think we have to back up our marks. I think the lighting's behind you a little bit. Justin's like, actually, it's better when it's behind you. Oh, okay. He's already sort of annoyed. And then rather sort of explaining, he does sort of stop because he wants this to be a silent moment where everyone's reacting and they're being normal, like into each other. This is the moment, and she's getting close to him. They're doing everything but sort of a lip kiss. That's part of the movie, is he really wants to kiss, and she's sort of teasing him throughout the project. And that's what this moment is. There seems to be good chemistry. Nothing's wrong. But things take an odd turn. As she throughout, she does do the part, but then she does direct a lot. But then he brings up this part of you and Ryan talk all the time. Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I have like
these moments where
Staring. You just stare.
Literally,
staring, you just stare at each other.
we've done it for like 5 minutes.
You're crazy. She's just laughing in his face.
It's like, I think you would find it terrifying.
You would find it terrifying that you can't like be in the moment, Blake, and like actually stare at somebody in love. You have to like make a joke. Her and Reynolds are meant for each right. Ryan Reynolds are probably meant for each other.
We just literally do each other, and like
When I
time
found a sociopath.
and like, time
And
stops.
she calls him a sociopath.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, time stops and we're in love.
That's just how it's been for us from the beginning.
No, we're like, oh my god, there's not enough time. I think talk.
Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are at the heart of an unexpected Hollywood storm that sparked intense debate among fans and insiders alike. The shocking accusations have sent ripples through the entertainment industry, raising the stakes to monumental levels. This unfolding drama is reshaping how scandals erupt and play out in Hollywood, leaving everyone wondering what really happened.
And then meanwhile, she's making it clear. No, she's offering a lot of intel about her relationship.
It's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you something else.
I think that's
He's like, yeah, it's pretty great, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think it's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
It's more than cute.
They won the Stanley Cup.
I think
Oh,
it's
that's cringe.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think it's amazing. Yeah, we're amazing. Don't forget it.
one almost.
And now he breaks character here.
Super close.
Yeah.
Can you guys frame up on the Sebastian on you?
And this is, to me, is the tell. He's trying to placate this actress who's demanding, who's overruling and directing things. But you can tell he's in a million places in his head. I can relate as someone who's directed movies and acted in them at the same time. There's a lot going on. You can be in the moment, but still be producing. I do it every day, Kim, as I'm doing this show. I'm performing, I'm reading my scripts, I'm doing my things, but I'm immediately also queuing up the next thing in my brain. And you can see it happening in real time with Justin. So I don't believe he's sitting there having the hots for Blake, trying to cop a feel. He's just trying to be in the moment, get the idea thing he has in his head, and then move on. In this moment where he breaks sort of the character on purpose to direct, which is his job, he's the director. You get a lot of sense from that. But anyway, before we get to Taylor's reaction, there's one more thing I want to show where she basically calls out his big nose.
All right, cut.
There's a scene here.
To the
Here
middle.
it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Here it is. I feel so nosy, she says, as their noses are touching.
And, in my,
I sometimes it's just like noses.
And my nose is so big.
Yes, your nose is big. I was hoping we could address this.
We can address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month and just deal with that. And
Yeah.
then,
Call an insurance month and just deal with that and fix that big nose of
um,
yours. Because Ryan has a much smaller nose than you.
just kidding.
No, it's true. That's why we hired Jenny Slate too. Our noses match.
Then he takes a slate at Jenny's slate about how their noses match. Anyway, long story short, nothing really. There is a moment here where she does seem annoyed, where the smell good happens. I gotta be careful of this song. They're trying to ding us over the song. Am I getting beard on you? It's probably I'm getting my spray tan.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body.
Beard on you today.
I'm probably getting spray tan on you.
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad.
He's like, it smells good. He's just doing it nicely, like, oh yeah, it's spray tan. He's like, oh, well, that smells nice for spray tan. It's a very innocent reaction. Kim, do you feel like it smells good? Was it all creepy?
I personally don't. I've had a number of conversations at work where people have commented that I smell nice. That's usually due to Bath and Body Works at my desk. Thank you very much for your service.
The drama began with the highly anticipated movie adaptation of It Ends With Us. Fans were thrilled to see Blake Lively, a beloved actress with an impeccable reputation, team up with Justin Baldoni, the charismatic star of Jane the Virgin. Their collaboration promised to bring Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel to life. However, behind the scenes, the reality was far from the harmonious image portrayed to the public. Reports surfaced alleging that Blake Lively had accused Baldoni of inappropriate behavior during production. The revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood, igniting intense debates about accountability, power dynamics, and the treatment of women in the entertainment industry.
Necessary for Baldoni to put this sort of language into that document for it to be listened or maybe taken seriously.
Absolutely. She struck first blood, right? She came out with first there was the New York Times article, and then there was the Civil Rights Division complaint, and with her side. So she came out first. So at that point, he's getting dropped by his agent. He's losing other opportunities. He's getting a negative feeling in the public. He had to do something strong, and he had to get his story out there. And so I knew it would come, and they needed to have a big wave, a big blast coming from his side. So it started first with the lawsuit against the New York Times for having conspired with Blake Lively and her team to come up with this negative narrative. And now it's the direct lawsuit against Ryan Reynolds and her. So yes, he absolutely needed to do it to restore his credibility, to get his name back, and to be able to work.
And I think it is interesting because so much of this lawsuit ultimately is going to play out in the court of public opinion. But I do want to put this up as well, just so we can get both sides here. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. We do know that Blake Lively's legal team has responded to this lawsuit as well, saying that it's yet another chapter in the abuser playbook. It says, quote, "This is what experts call DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim offender." Did want to ask you now as well, what you thought of that statement, calling it DARVO. Is that a term that's normally used? Why did she decide to use that language in her response?
I've never heard that term before. So, and it's certainly not a legal term. But she's sitting back because he's made some really bold allegations against her. And switching the narrative. And the public opinion is swaying a little bit. It's not just completely one-sided in her favor anymore because some people are getting a different view. But she had to come back and respond. But I think one thing is to take notice, and your audience needs to understand, Blake Lively is the power player. And when she is cast in a movie like this, she is the reason that Sony Pictures is doing the deal. She is the reason the movie's getting greenlit. So she wields a lot of power, even though she's just an actress and she's not a producer, a director, a rights owner. It really rests with her whether or not the movie gets finished and whether or not she gets the marketing out there. Now, I'm not saying that obviously, that she's bad and that means that she didn't, that she's the culprit. We still don't know that yet. But there's a power dynamic here. And she has the power on the set. And being with Ryan Reynolds, that doubles it. And so that dynamic needs to be kind of understood as we look at these text messages, as we look at the evidence, and to really understand what happened.
And I have another question here because, I mean, both of these lawsuits are their particular sides. It feels like it's a lot of he said, she said. How will either of their legal teams move forward and when they're trying to get, and what proof will they use? Do they need to use witnesses? Will they bring up more text messages? We do know that text messages were in that initial New York Times article that came out where Blake Lively first accused Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment.
You know, it started out as a he said, she said, but now it's turned into a very evidence-rich case. There is a lot of evidence, a lot of text messages, emails. There's going to be a lot of witnesses who can really corroborate either side's narrative. And so this case started out, you know, his word against her word. It's going to rest with the evidence, and there's a lot to it. And so, you know, we're not going to be left with just a credibility issue. You know, what her side of the story and his side of the story. Now we're going to look at what backs that up. And there seems to be a lot of evidence. And that's going to be the text messages, the emails. That's going to be witness testimony in terms of what each side was thinking, the motivations. And that's really where the decision making and the final results.
Justin Baldoni refused to stay silent, responding with a $400 million defamation countersuit against Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and her publicist. His lawsuit presented a drastically different narrative, accusing Lively of fabricating the allegations to sabotage his career. Baldoni claimed her team was manipulating the public narrative, turning what he described as a personal dispute into a calculated public smear campaign. The legal battle intensified, deepening the controversy and dividing public opinion even further.
Specifics, you need to write it down, and you need to have detailed examples about those experiences, as well as formally lodging a complaint as soon as possible.
Unfortunately, those things are necessary and helpful to make a case if and when there ever has to be one. What do you make of Baldoni's response here? He's not going after her directly, but indirectly through the New York Times in this lawsuit that kind of puts some more headlines out there that are an alternative to what we were talking about before that.
I think that the response is in line with his approach from if you've read the lawsuit, which I have several times, and you can see that there was an approach or an attempt via social media. That's what's alleged in the lawsuit to try to create an image of himself as a feminist man who cares about these issues. That's certainly an image he's been cultivating for quite some time. That's clear without reading the lawsuit. But in the lawsuit, it alleges that he hired a company to help smear Lively's name and image in the media through several different strategies, planting stories, planting Reddit posts, etc. If those things are true, I do not see a difference in then attacking via the media, right? Using the media as a tool to create a counter narrative seems in line with the strategy that is alleged in the lawsuit.
The media response is diversified, to say the least. There is the traditional media, the New York Times, who posted the initial story. There's also social media who are constantly commenting on the immediate updates that are happening here. And some people see this as a PR move for him or also for her. What do you make of that part of the public conversation we're having about what you call a traditional, very standard workplace harassment case?
I think the fact that the meeting that occurred last January is well documented, and that there were steps outlined for how to continue successfully filming shows me that pervasive harassment was happening, and that it was affecting not only Blake Lively but other people working on the film as well. Anytime you're setting up these basic rules and expectations, and that is well documented, saying things like no more showing nude images of women, including the producer's wife, to anyone on set, right? No more mention of previous pornography addictions. These are not appropriate workplace conversations. And therefore, anything we're seeing in the counter narrative or on social media doesn't really take into account, is trying to spin away from conversations around that.
All right. Well, something we'll keep an eye on as the lawsuits progress. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.
The legal battle escalated when Baldoni's team released behind-the-scenes footage from the film set, aiming to clear his name. The footage, showcasing interactions between Baldoni and Lively, only deepened the divide. While some viewers believed it exonerated Baldoni, showing him acting professionally, others argued that specific moments in the video supported Lively's allegations. Instead of resolving the controversy, the release fueled even more debate and heightened the public scrutiny.
Actor-director Justin Baldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, seeking more than $400 million in damages, accusing them of defamation and extortion. Baldoni directed and acted in the hit film It Ends With Us, which starred Lively as well. 2 weeks ago, Lively sued Baldoni and his production company, alleging harassment on set and a coordinated campaign to attack her reputation. A lawyer for Baldoni called Lively's claims false and outrageous. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas joins us now.
So, Chloe, this story just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Walk us through what Baldoni is alleging here and just remind viewers how we got to this point.
Sure. So I think in order to explain where we are today, let me just take you back a couple of weeks to kind of talk about how we got here. So a couple weeks ago, you guys might remember on New Year's Day, there were 2 lawsuits that were filed. Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, claiming harassment took place by Baldoni against her on the set of It Ends With Us, and that an orchestrated smear campaign took place behind the scenes with his PR team. And they had these text messages. And then a little bit before that lawsuit was filed, there was this explosive piece in the New York Times with this very dramatic headline from the publicist saying, "We can bury anyone." Well, on that same day, Justin Baldoni sued the New York Times for libel for $250 million, saying that Blake Lively had conspired with the New York Times to make him look like this bad individual when really it was all Lively. Well, now he's put all of that in a lawsuit against Lively and, like you said, Ryan Reynolds, in which he says, hold on a second, it wasn't me orchestrating a smear campaign against Lively. It was actually Blake Lively, her husband, her PR team coming at me because we had creative differences over the film. So he is seeking over $400 million. This was filed in New York. It's a civil complaint, not a criminal complaint, but we could see this play out in a courtroom.
And there's so much here, but what is now Blake Lively or her husband, Ryan Reynolds, the actor, what are they saying? Anything?
We haven't heard anything. So right now, it's just this over 100-page complaint. In it, there are emails, there are text messages between Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. There's also correspondence between Blake Lively's PR team and outlets. And, you know, it's a lot for fans to digest and go through right now. But what Baldoni's team is saying is that they've created a website that they plan to make live in the coming days. It's going to have all of this, a timeline and text messages for the public to read who's interested and make their decision as to whose side they're on.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
As the drama escalated, the entertainment industry quickly divided. Many prominent figures rallied behind Blake Lively, including It Ends With Us author Colleen Hoover, who publicly supported Lively and stressed the importance of believing women who speak out. Her statement resonated deeply with fans of the novel and those advocating for greater accountability and change within Hollywood.
Well, if people haven't been following the story in depth, it could kind of just sound like there's 2 big Hollywood stars who are falling out. But this has become so much more than a feud between high-profile celebrities. And before we get into the detail, I think we need to understand who these 2 people are. So give us some background on Blake and Justin.
Well, Blake is the bigger of the 2 stars. She's the big Hollywood actress that people might instantly recognise. Obviously, she rose to fame in Gossip Girl many years ago, but since then she's been in so many different films and TV programmes. And I suppose as well as her sort of curated image that she has as an actress, she's also married to fellow actor Ryan Reynolds. They've got children together. They have this really well-curated brand. She is best friends with Taylor Swift. Anyone that was watching the Eras tour would have seen her and Ryan and their children at the tour and at some of the shows. So she is a really big star that has got powerful allies and a huge online.
And she's always been seen as a bit of a golden girl as well.
Oh,
she has. Aspirational figure.
Yeah, you can do no wrong. Blake Lively can do no wrong. People have always thought she's beautiful, she is wonderful, she's got these powerful friends, these allies.
These beautiful children, an amazing husband, the whole package.
Exactly, she is the whole package, and Hollywood has always seen her and her husband as the whole package.
And what about Justin Baldoni?
Justin is another big Hollywood star. He is probably best known for his role in Jane the Virgin, which ran for a number of years. He also now runs a production company called Wayfarer Studios, and that's the production company that actually bought the rights to this film. Really, it was Justin Baldoni that wanted to create that film through his production company because they bought the rights.
And Yasmin, how has he positioned himself? Because he describes himself as a feminist.
He does describe himself as a feminist, and I think before this lawsuit came out, he was also very much celebrated. He's got a number of awards from women's organisations that promote him as a feminist and an ally for women in the industry. So both of these two names are seen as, big Hollywood figures, but also sort of the perfect packages.
And in terms of the movie, it's one of those ones, because it's based on a novel that went viral, that there was a huge amount of anticipation around. I mean, lots of people were looking forward to seeing what these two stars did with a book that they loved.
Most young women around the world were absolutely desperate for this film to come out. And I think when it was announced in 2019 that it was going to be turned into a film, there was so much excitement and hype around it. It Ends With Us is just one of the most viral novels. It sold 20 million copies. It's got more than 1 billion tags on TikTok. So it really is a book and now film that people were so excited for. And so there was so much anticipation even before the movie came out.
So Yasmin, let's start with the Blake Lively lawsuit. Two main elements to the filing, and the first are actually allegations of sexual harassment. What is it that she is alleging?
So she's made claims against Mr. Baldoni and the lead producer on the film of repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behaviour. Now, in more detail, these allegations relate to things like his discussion of his pornography addiction, his discussion of his genitalia, and entering her trailer uninvited, including when she was undressed or breastfeeding. They have categorically denied that there was any sexual harassment on set.
And then there was this reported meeting, in which she made a list of demands, we understand, that she wanted fulfilled before she continued shooting the movie. I mean, what were those demands?
In January, when they were shooting the film, she called a meeting to address this hostile work environment, as she calls it. And that meeting included executives, but it also included her husband, Ryan Reynolds. And some of the demands at the meeting that she made included having a continuous presence of an intimacy coordinator, making no more descriptions of their own genitalia, and no friends of the producers and directors being on set during scenes.
Blake Lively's half-sister, Robin Lively, expressed steadfast support, sharing heartfelt messages on social media that amplified the emotional weight of the situation. Actress America Ferrera, a vocal advocate for gender equality, publicly praised Blake's courage in speaking out. Even Amber Heard, no stranger to public controversies, lent her support to Lively, adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama and intensifying the public debate surrounding the allegations.
Blake Lively was in a state of nudity. There are some other demands as well, including Justin Baldoni not making any reference to the fact that he could contact Blake Lively's dead father. She did say very specifically that if these demands were not met, she would not continue filming.
And is this lawsuit the first time that we heard these allegations of a smear campaign that Blake Lively says was launched against her? I know we're going to talk more about this in more detail later, Yasmin, but tell us about some of those claims.
So this is the first time we heard of the smear campaign in this lawsuit. So like you mentioned, that lawsuit's got two elements. The first part is this sexual harassment element, but the second part is this smear campaign. Now, she alleges that Mr. Baldoni's team created this smear campaign to prevent her from publicly outing what was happening during filming. Obviously, Mr. Baldoni and his lawyers completely deny this, but essentially the lawsuit says that Baldoni orchestrated a plan to destroy her reputation in the press and online, including hiring a crisis manager who led a sophisticated, coordinated, and well-financed retaliation plan, and essentially used this thing called a digital army to post social media content about her that seemed authentic and would turn people against her. Blake Lively's team say that essentially this negative press has affected all aspects of her life, and it was able to suppress other narratives, i.e. what she might have said that Justin Baldoni was doing on set.
So that's the Blake Lively lawsuit. But at the same time, Justin Baldoni files a lawsuit of his own, suing the New York Times, and it's because the Times were one of the first publications to report on these allegations. What's Justin Baldoni's lawsuit all about?
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's floundering image.
And we've also heard from Brian Friedman in an interview with NBC, haven't we, Yasmin? And is this where we learnt that he intends, and Justin Baldoni intends, to countersue Blake Lively personally?
So Justin Baldoni's lawyers have said they will absolutely file a lawsuit against Miss Lively. They haven't set out exactly what will be in that countersuit. They've denied the smear campaign, and they've also brought up other things like the fact that Miss Lively didn't read the source material on the film, and actually they accuse her of orchestrating her own smear campaign. So we've got a slight insight there into some of the things that might come up in that counter lawsuit.
So, Yasmin, they've made this film together. It ends with us. It's widely anticipated. Was it a box office success?
It absolutely was a box office success. It took home $350 million at the box office, which is no small feat. So even though there were all of these rumours of things happening, the film still was a success. I don't think anyone's surprised that it was a success, given how we were talking earlier about just how successful the book was and how excited people were. There was just so much anticipation.
And I think people were also, because of what they could sense was brewing, interested in the press tour that accompanied the film. You were there. You reported on the press tour for It Ends With Us. What was it like?
So I think what was really interesting about this premiere is that by the time they got to London, they had already done a number of premieres in the US, and rumours started spiralling at the New York premiere when they were not spotted together in any photo.
Justin Baldoni wasn't without defenders. Media personality Megyn Kelly dismissed Blake Lively's claims after reviewing the leaked footage, calling the accusations baseless and arguing that Baldoni's reputation was being unjustly damaged. Kelly's remarks added fuel to the fire, further deepening the divide between supporters of the two stars.
The Hollywood actress Blake Lively has filed a legal complaint against her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, alleging sexual harassment and a campaign to destroy her reputation. Blake Lively says she wants to pull back the curtain on sinister tactics used to harm people who speak up about misconduct. Mr. Baldoni's legal team told the BBC the allegations are categorically false. Well, our reporter Matt Graveling joins us now. Matt, what more can you tell us?
Well, Lakshmi, these details have come out in paperwork filed to the California Civil Rights Department, and it's a complaint by the actress Blake Lively, and it accuses the actor Justin Baldoni and his team of sexual harassment and a campaign to destroy her reputation. Now, to understand how we got to this point, Lakshmi, we do need to first rewind a little bit. Lively and Baldoni were stars of the Netflix film It Ends With Us, which came out in the summer. Now, the film did very well with viewers, but this paperwork filed in California has made us aware of some big disagreements on the set. Now, it states that on the 4th of January, a meeting was held to address a hostile work environment. Now, the meeting was attended by Baldoni, who was also the film's director and the co-chairman and co-founder of Wayfarer, who the production company for the film. Blake Lively also attended with her husband and the Hollywood actor Ryan Reynolds, who wasn't in the film, alongside other members of the film's production service. Now, Blake Lively's lawyers alleged that both Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer CEO, Jamie Heath, engaged in inappropriate and unwelcome behaviour towards her and towards others on the set. Now, the meeting included a list, Lakshmi, of 30 demands relating to the pair's alleged misconduct to be met to ensure the production of the film could continue. Now, among them, Blake Lively requested there's to be no more mention of Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath's previous pornography addiction. There's to be no more descriptions of their own genitalia, and no more adding of sex scenes outside of the script that Blake Lively had already approved when signing onto the project.
Now, just very briefly, Matt, we know what was discussed at the meeting in January, but where are we now?
Well, this came out in August, this film, Lakshmi, but fast forward to now, and Blake Lively's team have filed that complaint against Baldoni, alleging the sexual harassment and a campaign to destroy her reputation. And the accusation is that Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios led a multi-tiered plan to wreck her reputation, saying this was the intended result of a carefully coordinated scheme to silence her and others from speaking out about that environment. Blake Lively says she hopes her actions will help pull the curtain back on these sinister retaliatory tactics to help people who speak up against misconduct. Now, responding to the legal complaint, Baldoni's lawyer said the allegations are categorically false, Lakshmi. It's a shame that Miss Lively would make such serious accusations. And finally, Lakshmi, Mr. Baldoni's legal team also accused Miss Lively of making numerous demands, threatening to not show up to set, threatening to not promote the film, which would end up ultimately leading to its demise during its release if her demands were not met.
Matt, thank you.
Justin Baldoni wasn't without defenders. Media personality Megyn Kelly dismissed Blake Lively's claims after reviewing the leaked footage, calling the accusations baseless and arguing that Baldoni's reputation was being unjustly damaged. Kelly's remarks added fuel to the fire, further deepening the divide between supporters of the two stars.
Tonight, scandal rocking Hollywood as the fallout begins from Blake Lively's explosive allegations against co-star Justin Baldoni. Talent agency giant WME telling the New York Times it dropped Baldoni from its roster just one day after Lively filed a legal complaint accusing him of sexual harassment and retaliation.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
Baldoni starred in and directed the box office hit It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence based on the best-selling book by romance novelist Colleen Hoover. Hoover herself coming out in support of Lively on social media this weekend, urging her to never change, never wilt. The allegations first made public in a New York Times investigation by Megan Twohey, whose reporting on sex abuse in Hollywood helped trigger the Me Too movement. Why do you think it's important in this moment?
It's really a story that raises questions about the integrity and authenticity of the online narratives that exist today and to what extent they're being manipulated by people for hire.
The 80-page legal complaint, a precursor to a possible lawsuit, alleges in graphic detail harassment by Baldoni on the production set, including kissing and touching Lively in unwanted ways during filming, and repeatedly commenting on her appearance, weight, and sexual history. An attorney for Baldoni calling the allegations categorically false. Lively and Baldoni never promoted the film together after its release, sparking rumors of a feud, with Lively frequently coming under fire online.
I'm wondering if Blake is actually the problem.
Something she now alleges was the result of a smear campaign masterminded by Baldoni's crisis PR team.
This really reveals a new playbook. This raises questions about who else is sort of being targeted. I mean, to use their own language, they use the terms social manipulation.
The legal battle only beginning, the PR battle raging on. David Noriega, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Controversy took a professional toll on Baldoni as his talent agency, Double M, severed ties with him, highlighting the serious nature of the allegations.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos for more on this. Danny, good morning. Thanks for being here. Quite a talker. Let's start with Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times. The Times, as Liz just pointed out there, has said they're going to vigorously defend their reporting. Walk us through what each side would need to prove here.
Baldoni and the other plaintiffs need to prove that the Times made false statements and that they either knew the statements were false or recklessly disregarded the falsity of those statements. Basically, it's like the proverbial ostrich sticking their head in the sand and ignoring facts that would have led them to publish something different. And that, in addition, they need to show damages. This is why defamation is one of those things that everybody always talks about, but really not often do lawyers find a defamation case interesting enough or appealing enough to actually file. And it's because proving damages, you need to show that the false statements actually caused you professional harm. That's really difficult to do. But in the case of actors, there is a case to be made that, hey, I got this bad press and then I missed out on this movie and this movie would have netted me $10 million. A similar theory in, say, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation cases. So you are seeing a trend where in Hollywood, defamation has a unique set of facts where it actually is worth it to file suit.
As we saw there, it looks like Baldoni does plan to sue Lively. For her part, a couple days ago, she filed a suit against him, accusing him of sexual harassment and retaliation. That suit filed in New York. So if Baldoni's lawyers do file a suit against Lively, what happens? Do these get coupled together into sort of one case? Do they go on separate tracks? Explain what happens.
They could. There are procedural rules that allow for consolidation of cases. I actually think maybe the New York Times lawsuit could remain separate because even though it is based on similar operative facts, it is a separate claim against a separate entity. And you really, to some degree, may not even need Lively as a witness because really the allegations against the Times are that the Times received a bunch of different data, information, communications, text messages. And the allegations are that the Times reporters sifted through it and ignored the ones that were good for Baldoni and only published or based their story on the ones that were bad for Baldoni. That's really the gist of their claim. And I think that's why they filed against the New York Times first and only the Times, because that's a cleaner, simpler lawsuit, at least in theory.
It seems like what you're just describing there, my interest was piqued by hearing Baldoni's lawyer say there, I want to make a website and put every text message on it. I mean, that sort of sounds like what happens in the discovery phase of something here for the public to kind of make an opinion about, as well as the courtroom. Do you think that's something that we will see? And is there any concern of kind of like reputational damage in that phase for your client if you are an attorney putting it all out there?
Yes, and you bring up a really good point. To some degree, this kind of litigation could be mutually assured destruction, as it often is because of discovery. Large companies, brands, actors with a name that they need to protect, they need to be mindful that the fact that if a case gets into discovery, there's going to be data, information, communications, text messages exchanged. And they're also going to sit for a deposition, and that can be wide-ranging. The rules of admissibility are very much relaxed. Almost anything comes in at a deposition, and you have to ask yourself, if you're a big company or someone with a brand to protect, do I really want to subject myself to that, or is discretion the better part of valor? Do I just decide not to engage in this litigation? But in Baldoni's case, for example, he was already sued. So he's already in the case. It seems to me that inevitable that he's going to be firing back, and that sooner or later, all parties will be bringing claims against all parties.
Danny Savalas, fascinating stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Meanwhile, organizations like SAG-AFTRA and Vital Voices voice their support for Lively, framing the situation as part of a larger conversation about workplace safety and respect in Hollywood.
Your host, Christina Evans. We do want to turn our attention to another story that's been getting quite a lot of attention online. Of course, I want to put up this tweet for you that we have from Variety laying out what's happening here. Justin Baldoni, the actor, is now suing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. He's alleging that they sought to, quote unquote, destroy him. This all pertains back to that It Ends With Us movie. He was the actor and director. Justin has now sued his co-star Blake Lively and her husband, Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds, for defamation and extortion on Thursday. This was the latest move, though, in a very bitter legal battle surrounding the dark romantic comedy. Do want to put up some video for you as well here. But the suit there that was filed in federal court in New York by Baldoni and production company Wayfarer Studios is now seeking at least $400 million for damages. That includes loss of future income. It alleges that Lively and Reynolds hijacked the production and marketing of It Ends With Us and then manipulated the media to smear Baldoni and others on the production with false allegations of sexual and other harassment. We do know, though, that this lawsuit comes just about 2 weeks after both Lively and Baldoni and several others tied to the film alleged that they were retaliated against for her coming forward about her treatment on set. So Lively, of course, sued Baldoni 2 weeks ago, and now he is coming out in a lawsuit to respond to that. I do want to bring into the conversation now Trey Lavelle to just dive into this story. Trey, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. This has been a story that has taken so many twists and turns over the last few weeks. What are your initial thoughts with Justin Baldoni now bringing this new lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds?
Well, I think what happened was initially when Blake Lively came out and she filed that complaint with the Civil Rights Division, California, it was just her version. And so people were pretty quick to jump on the bandwagon. There were pretty bad allegations. His agent dropped him the day after. And it was a very just one-sided narrative. Now we're seeing the other side of the coin. And he has a completely different narrative, an explanation in terms of what really happened. And it's going to be about the evidence. So, I knew it would come around. I knew, that we were sitting with her version for a while, but they were going to come out. And if the attorney lives up to his promises on showing the evidence, on showing all these text messages and having a website to be very transparent for the public, it's going to be very interesting.
And I do want to read out a statement that we have as well. This is reported there from the Associated Press. It says that this is a case about two of the most powerful stars in the world deploying their enormous power to steal an entire film out of the hands of its director and its production studio. This is what is inside of that lawsuit that Baldoni did file. It says, then when Lively and Reynolds' efforts failed to win them the acclaim that they believe they so richly deserved, they turned their fury on their chosen scapegoat. I mean, Trey, when I'm listening to that, that's pretty powerful words to put into a written document that's going to be there in the court systems.
Case evolved beyond a mere celebrity dispute, shedding light on systemic issues within the entertainment industry. Sparked crucial conversations about power dynamics, accountability, and the handling of allegations involving high-profile individuals in Hollywood.
Tonight, bombshell allegations from one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Blake Lively, accusing Justin Baldoni, her director and co-star in the film It Ends With Us, of sexual harassment and of orchestrating a smear campaign against her.
Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here.
In a newly filed legal complaint, Lively claiming in graphic detail that Baldoni repeatedly harassed her on set, including crossing boundaries during intimate scenes.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
During production of the film about domestic violence, a meeting was held to address Lively's concerns with her husband Ryan Reynolds in attendance, according to the complaint. The complaint also alleges that Baldoni, fearing Lively would make her claims public, hired a crisis management team to destroy her reputation. In text messages included with the complaint, PR executives discussed Baldoni's desire to see Lively buried, one writing, "You know we can bury anyone."
And they definitely make all of the parties involved in those exchanges, Baldoni and his publicist, look somewhat calculating, somewhat vicious, frankly.
Attorneys for Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios deny the allegations, calling them categorically false and a desperate attempt by Lively to fix her negative reputation.
You have Justin Baldoni, who has really presented himself as kind of a feminist, who's talked negatively about toxic masculinity. And this seems to fly in the face of that. It's a huge deal. A lot of reputational issues at stake here. There's a lot of money at stake. And there's the careers of two very big stars.
David Noriega, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Public reaction to the controversy has been a whirlwind, with social media platforms becoming battlegrounds for heated debates. Hashtags like #TeamBlake and #TeamJustin trended worldwide. Supporters of Lively lauded her bravery in speaking out, while Baldoni's defenders pointed to the leaked footage as evidence of his innocence.
Pressed together.
And Yasmin, as a journalist attending the premiere, were you given any direction from the PR teams? Were you told there were certain things you should ask or could ask or shouldn't ask?
At the London premiere, we were essentially warned as press not to ask Blake Lively any questions about Justin Baldoni whatsoever, which is obviously very unusual to be told that you can't ask an actor about their co-star in a film. The other things we were told were not to ask questions that were too heavy-hitting, to keep things nice and light and fun, and to avoid talking about domestic abuse, which is one of the main themes of the film.
I work as a presenter on a daily news program on the BBC News Channel, and interviewees are not able to make demands about the questions that they're willing to answer. Is this usual, Yasmin, in the entertainment space, that PRs are able to come and kind of manage the press in this way?
It's actually really uncommon. So in entertainment reporting, it should be just the same as it is in news reporting. We cannot have publicity teams telling us what we can and can't ask. And we usually and very often do turn down interviews where we are told you can't ask about X, Y, Z if we think they're relevant to the film. I think there are ways of getting around it, which is clearly what happened at the press tour here, where we get told, of course, you can come to the red carpet, you can ask whatever you like, and then about a minute before Blake Lively comes to you on your spot to interview her, you get whispered in your ear, don't do X, Y, Z. If you do, we'll drag her away. So it's not common for them to set out these demands, and we would never agree to these demands in advance, but you can tell that there are ways around them.
Let's look at this so-called smear campaign, which Blake Lively says was orchestrated to destroy her reputation. Because something that became a really big focus, it seems, online was the manner in which she was promoting the film. And Blake Lively, it seems, came in for a lot of criticism for that.
For a film about domestic abuse, the press tour was probably not what you would have expected. Especially the London one. There were pink carpets, there were flowers, there was a promo of Blake Lively's new hair care brand. Her husband was promoting his gin brand at the after party. So really, if you looked at the premieres and the red carpets, you wouldn't associate this film with actually being quite a harrowing film about domestic abuse. She also came under criticism for perhaps some clumsy promotional tour videos. At one point, she told a journalist people should grab their friends, wear their florals, and head out to see it. And I think that sparked some backlash in terms of one person online I saw saying that it seemed a bit like this was the sequel to Barbie. And actually, if you look at the film and you watch the film, it is anything but that. And I suppose in contrast then, Justin Baldoni tried to position himself as someone who really wanted to talk about the domestic abuse angle and how that was so important to shed a light on that. So you can tell that they both had very different perspectives when it came to the tour, and they had very different views on how they were going to promote the film.
And in terms of what was happening online, what other content started to emerge about Blake Lively?
Case has reignited discussions about workplace behavior, consent, and accountability in Hollywood. It also raises questions about the power of the court of public opinion, which can sometimes hold as much influence as the legal system itself.
So after those clumsy promotional tour videos came out, people already were a bit angry with Blake Lively, I think it's fair to say. Then a number of videos started resurfacing of previous interviews that she'd given. One of the biggest ones that sort of really caught a light on the internet was an interview she did in 2016 with a Norwegian journalist called Kirsty Fla. And Kirsty Fla posted a video on YouTube around the same time that all of this negative press was coming out about Blake Lively, and it was titled "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." Now, it's important to say that since the lawsuit has come out, Kirsty Fla has said that she has got absolutely nothing to do with Justin Baldoni and the smear campaign, and instead she was just putting out a video that she felt very hurt by at the time. But that is just one example of people sort of implying or saying that Blake Lively was difficult to work with in the past. She wasn't perhaps this beautiful Hollywood star that was perfect, and actually she maybe wasn't as nice behind the scenes.
I mean, Yasmin, the volume of negative content that came out was huge. It felt like it was everywhere at the time. And is that what led Blake Lively to hire a brand marketing consultant to find out what was happening?
We really can't underestimate how much negative content there was on the internet about Blake Lively. It was everywhere. It was almost hard to find something positive about her, whether that be the old interviews she was giving, whether that be interviews that she was giving on the press tours that made people hate her. But yes, she hired this brand marketing consultant to sort of look at what was happening. And this is something we've only since found out in the lawsuit. We didn't know at the time that she was doing this. But analysis reportedly showed that 35% of Google results on her name also referred to Justin Baldoni. And the consultant said that essentially this was highly unusual given the length of her career, given that she's the big Hollywood star and she's sort of famous in her own right. You wouldn't expect that to be coming up.
So, Yasmin, is it clear, though, how an alleged campaign like this would be carried out?
In the lawsuit, it says that this smear campaign was carefully crafted, coordinated, and a resourced retaliatory scheme to silence her and others from speaking out. There's this sort of reference to a digital army. We don't really understand what that digital army is, but the claims also say that this was an organic campaign. So it's not bots on the internet. There are people that are feeding into this story, and they're creating content that at least seems authentic, which then kind of the ball spirals from there.
And then there's this big point of contention about Justin Baldoni hiring a crisis manager. How does that exactly work, and what does it tell us about how celebrity PR works as well, Yasmin?
Well, Justin Baldoni hired a woman called Melissa Nathan. She's a big name in the world of PR. Her previous clients have included Johnny Depp during the trial with Amber Heard and the likes of Drake as well. Justin Baldoni says essentially he hired Melissa Nathan to protect him from Blake Lively's threat. So it wasn't that she was there to actively create a campaign against Blake, but instead protect Justin Baldoni's interests. And in the age of social media, PR has become highly elaborate. And in the lawsuit, I think one of the things that stuck out for me was one of the texts that we can see where Miss Nathan says, "You know we can bury anyone." So
Both Lively and Baldoni remain firm in their positions, showing no signs of backing down. The ongoing legal battles and public scrutiny have transformed their private dispute into a widely publicized cultural moment.
Tonight, Justin Baldoni's lawyer speaking out for the first time since Blake Lively accused the actor of unprofessional and sexually inappropriate behavior on the set of It Ends With Us and a coordinated smear campaign to damage her reputation.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no.
Lively has filed a civil rights complaint and a lawsuit against her co-star, who also directed the film, where she claims that in retaliation for raising concerns, Baldoni and his team launched an online social manipulation campaign to destroy Lively's reputation. The New York Times published the first story about Lively's allegations. Now Baldoni and 9 other plaintiffs, including Baldoni's PR firm, are suing the paper for libel and say they plan to take further legal action.
Do you plan to sue Blake Lively?
Absolutely.
You will?
Yes.
In the filing, Baldoni's lawyers contend text messages were taken out of context or excluded, including one appearing to show Lively inviting Baldoni into her trailer while pumping, which they say refutes Lively's claim that Baldoni would enter her trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding.
We plan to release every single text messages between the two of them. We want the truth to be out there. We want the documents to be out there. We want people to make their determination based on receipts.
In a statement, the New York Times stood by its reporting and said, "We plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit." A lawyer for Lively said nothing in this lawsuit changes anything about the claims and her complaints. While Lively previously said, "I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct." Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
This story goes beyond 2 celebrities caught in a controversy. It's about accountability, fairness, and how allegations are managed in an industry where public perception can make or break careers. The outcome of this case may set a crucial precedent for how Hollywood addresses these issues moving forward.